The Lock Big 3 is a great sequence of exercises for stronger, healthy, more stable shoulders. The famous physio Andrew Locke came up with this, and it's something I've given out to so many hypermobile people over the years and used myself a lot in my training. When it comes to hypermobility, sometimes this isn't the right sequence of exercises for someone. For example, it might actually trigger something in their shoulders. But for some people, it is actually the right idea, as in these are the muscles around the shoulder that we want to work, but something like your neck gets set off doing it. For some people, lying down in that position triggers your neck. Some other people can't tolerate lying down while exercising. Or you might be like me and my low back gets triggered when I lie face down and do exercises like that. So let me show you an adaptation that you can do instead. But first, let's run through the exact movements that we're doing with the Lock Big 3 so we know what to replace them for. So the first position here with the hands up by the side, we're actually performing retraction of the shoulder blades here. So that's something we need to include. The second position is hands down by the side with palms facing down. In this position, the movement that we're doing is shoulder joint extension, but the position we're doing it in is an externally rotated position. Then we switch to palms up, which puts our shoulder in an internally rotated position. So shoulder joint extension from an internally rotated position. I've got two variations for you. The first one is lying, the second one is standing. This lying down version is great if your neck or your back or whatever gets triggered from lying face down. So I've set up in a Smith machine, I've got the band attached up here, and the first movement I'm doing is retraction of the shoulder blade. For the cue that I'm thinking about, the hand that's got the band, I'm imagining that that shoulder blade is pulling in towards the other shoulder blade. It might look a little bit different from the other Lock Big 3, but trust me, it's a very similar movement at the shoulder blade. Now, the next position that we're going to do is our palms down position that we did in Lock Big 3. Of course, we've flipped our whole body now, so it's actually palm facing up. And with this one, we want to make sure that there's no movement in our elbow joint so that the movement is coming from the shoulder. This is shoulder joint extension from an externally rotated position. Then of course we flip it over and we do our palms up position, aka our shoulder extension from internally rotated position. But of course, because our whole body is flipped, it's palms down. Again, elbow is not allowed to bend, it's coming from the shoulder. Now, a couple of notes on this one before we go to the next exercise replacements. I'm doing that one in the Smith machine. You don't technically have to, but I do recommend tying that band to something that is not going to move at all. For example, don't tie it to a loose barbell because we want safety and stability when we're doing this exercise. Next thing is you might find it's more comfortable to do it, say, lying on a bench, but then we just need a higher attachment for that band. The third thing is, although I'm actually very strong at this exercise, I do think that the band that I'm using is too heavy. I actually just couldn't find my lighter band, but you really do want to use a nice light band, and preferably one of those circular ones so that you can just hook your wrist in and maintain that externally or internally rotated position, as opposed to just holding onto the end of one long band, because that can make it a bit hard to maintain that palms up or palms down position. Now, disclaimer, if you get pain doing this exercise anywhere, we don't want to do it, or we want to adjust how you're doing it so you don't get pain. And the same goes for clicking or clunking, especially in the shoulder joint. This exercise should be nice and comfortable on your neck and nice and comfortable on your low back. Now, let's say you can't tolerate lying down exercises and you want to do it standing. Let's go through that. First of all, let's replace the retraction, the first position. We can do it standing just like this. What we want to do is attach the band to roughly shoulder height. Then it's the same thing, pulling our shoulder blade back. Retraction means to pull backwards. Sometimes it can be awkward to just do this on one side to cue it in your brain. So it might be easier to think about pulling both of your shoulder blades together. We don't want to pull them up. We just want to pull them together or towards your spine. Next, we're going to do shoulder joint extension from our palms down position, aka externally rotated position. And with all of these Lock 3 variations, I like to cue to lead with the thumb. That helps to maintain both the externally and internally rotated positions respectively. We flipped our palm over and we're doing shoulder joint extension from an internally rotated position. I'm going to give you all a bonus exercise because I'm feeling generous. Also, it's just itching my brain the wrong way to not do this. Sometimes your shoulder won't tolerate the extension, aka the second and third positions particularly well. So in order to still stimulate our external and internal rotators, we can replace it with this. This first position I'm in is external rotation, and then I swap over here to internal rotation. Now, a very important thing to understand is when we're doing this rotation, what we're thinking about rotating is actually this bone here, our upper arm bone or our humerus. So in order to do this effectively, regardless of whether we're doing internal rotation or external rotation, we want to think about really locking that shoulder blade back and down. So this working shoulder blade here, we're pulling it back and down to the opposite back pocket. Then thinking of locking that elbow by your side. This means that the rotation is happening through this arm bone here. So again, those last two exercises I showed, the internal and external rotation, standing with a cable, those ones can be a substitute for the second and third position of the Lock Big 3 with the palms up or palms down shoulder joint extension. Now with any of these, if you get pain clicking or clunking, we want to adjust the way that you're performing the exercise. And if that doesn't fix it, then we want to maybe avoid the exercise altogether. Your rehab and your strength exercises should not trigger pain and they should not trigger symptoms. We want exercise to have a positive effect on the body. But as a side note, don't get disheartened if these exercises do cause pain, clicking, clunking, whatever, because that's actually information that you can take to a good physiotherapist and they can use that to help to get to the bottom of whatever's happening in your shoulder. With Ehlers-Danlos, sometimes we have to put our Sherlock Holmes hat on and use our symptoms as information or clues to figure out what's actually happening in our body. So there you go. Let me know if these help.